Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Talking Joes alongside Josh Stanley and Ethan Herzog. Welcome back. And the Joes have gone 2-2 over the last four games of the past, week or so. One of them being yesterday from when this is being recorded, June 25th, when they would beat the Lima Locos, the first place team in the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. 10-1, which I mean we have to go all the way back to the series against the Clippers, where they did end up taking one game out of the series, and that was a doubleheader game. So 7 innings, they would come in and they would win that game 5-4 against the Clippers before dropping the last game of the series 5-3. But it's been a lot of ups and downs, and I think there was a lot of progress made yesterday in the 10-1 win. And I mean, you have to look at the fifth inning, the bottom of the fifth inning yesterday, where the Joes would end up scoring, I think it was 6 runs in that inning.
That is correct on the 6 runs. We've seen basically since I would say, I guess, the past week and a half of the games we've called, they've always been knocking on the door with runners in scoring position, but haven't been able to get that door open. They've been knocking, but finally saw the explosion and finally had a explosive inning on their side.
And I mean, I think opening the door is a little too polite. I think they kind of bashed the door in with a lot of force against Lima. I mean, it was 7 straight base hits in that game, and then just an extra aside, the pitcher who started in that game would be tossed, BC Harrison, and so would the head coach for Lima, with a whole bunch of other stuff. And then the hitting just continued, and then the Joes would score more runs, and it was just kind of this big giant snowball effect that, I mean, led to the 10-1 victory, which, I mean, at one point we thought it was going to be a walk-off run rule, but not even still. I mean, you've got an impressive showing offensively, but Josh, I know you're really impressed with the pitching yesterday as well.
Yeah, the pitching, aside from the first game against Lima in the series, the past 4 games, or excuse me, the past 3 have been great. Doubleheader, the first game of doubleheader only gave up 4 runs. And the second game gave up 5 runs. And then last night, 1 run, and that 1 run came on a sac fly. Wasn't too many hard hit balls. Big shout out to Dale Ellis in the first game of doubleheader, getting through 6 innings, only giving up 2 runs. And last night to Charlie DeRuff, who had a couple moments when runners got on, but when bases were empty, it was lights out.
And even still, I mean, Charlie DeRuff, he played lights out either way, and still has not allowed an earned run this season. He's got 8 strikeouts on the year through, I believe, 7 innings pitched at this point. I think he's on a little bit of a pitch limitation, so once he gets up to a certain point, he gets pulled just by means of at the request of the college that he plays for, so Cincinnati Bearcats and Jordan Bischel, we assume. We don't really know. We could be wrong. But it's still been impressive, and I think at this point in the season too, you're really starting to find that core of guys that you really want to start, and Charlie DeRuff is becoming one of those guys. And we'll touch on it a little bit later, but you also have a lot of those closing guys, and Hudson Boring for me is one of those guys that you want to pull out from the bullpen, top of the 8th, just let him do his work, because he has been lights out as well. 13 strikeouts on the year so far already, and I mean, he's been looking as good as ever as well.
Yeah, it's just, we talked about it last night during the broadcast. His stuff is incredibly deceiving with all 6'7" of him. Gets so far down the mound every pitch. So he's basically throwing almost from 50 feet. And he's got stuff in the 90s, and that 90s can turn up to upper 90s. And he's got a wipeout slider. I don't know how you hit him. Like, if I were 7 in the box, not a chance.
And also to note too, there were a lot of scouts in attendance last night as well. Namely, Ball State and NKU were in attendance. They were, a couple of guys were in the portal, I think, for both teams. So, I mean, for Hudson Boring, who I believe is a D2, D3 guy, you have the chance to get yourself pulled up into a Division I spot, especially performing as well as you did last night, and then if you continue to do the same thing through games in the future, you're just going to keep building up your repertoire, and it's going to be really impressive to watch him go, especially as the season progresses and we move along in into July as we're approaching the final couple of games of June. But I want to point out I want to point out a couple of plays. I mean they're all in the fifth inning yesterday where these plays were, particularly Alex Kelling's 3 RBI double. It cleared the bases. It really was what got the momentum secured for the Joes yesterday. And I mean I think that was kind of just like the really big meltdown that Lima saw and they could not come back from.
Exactly. We've seen many opportunities at Foundation Field where the bases have been loaded, and the only way they've been able to score is a walk. Like we've seen a couple guys walk in a row with the bases loaded, but they haven't been able to cash in. This was the first real time they've been able to cash in and execute with the bases loaded, and then they just kept the momentum going.
I know we talked to Coach Schaefer a couple days ago when he was talking about the hitting problems that the Joes were having, and I mean, I think yesterday was a sign of what's to come, at least in the last month of the season, where they're seeing the ball very well and they're starting to really they're really starting to swing at some of these baseballs, and they're getting under a lot of them. A lot of these hits were back towards the wall, one hopping the wall, caught on the warning track. I mean, like you're starting to find your power. You're starting to find your timing, and sometimes a well hit baseball isn't just the power, but it's the timing and the contact with the barrel. So a lot of these hitters that we'll talk about here in a moment, to Alex Kelling, who saw the ball very well. And also yesterday, it was a little warmer. It was a little humid. Ball carried a little bit more. And coming up Friday, Saturday for the 2 games against Xenia, which we'll be talking about here in a moment, it's going to be a little hotter too. And next week we have 1 game as well against, I believe, South Ohio. Yes. This South Ohio Copperheads, and it's going to be like 97. So that ball is going to carry if it's well struck. I mean, by either team, but still, I mean, it's been great kind of watching these guys go.
Yeah, a big thing I took, especially from last night and our brief conversation with Schaefer after the game, is, on a 2-0 pitch, 1-0 pitch, they weren't taking it. They were aggressive, they were just punishing fastballs over the heart of the plate. I mean, we saw in the interview we did with Alex Kelling, he spit on a changeup, just sitting on the fastball. As soon as he got it over the heart of the plate, crushed it. I believe it one hopped the wall, and in that inning, if I remember the score sheet correctly, the highest count a Joe's hitter got was 2-2, and other than that, it was 2-0, 1-1, 1-0 for all these base hits they chained together.
It was very impressive, and I think that's going to lead into some of these players that we're looking out for. The All-Star game's coming up towards the end of July, and we've picked a couple of players that we really want to see in that All-Star game. And for me, it's Hudson Boring, who I mentioned is kind of that closing guy that you want to look forward to that's coming out of the bullpen in later innings. And just taking a brief look at his stats, I mean, I mentioned the 13 strikeouts. He's got a 2.25 ERA through 8 straight innings. And I mean, almost every game he's appeared in, well, let me rephrase. He's seen 2 wins in his appearances so far, and one of them being last night, the other one being on the first game of the doubleheader against the Clippers, and then saw a loss against the Clippers the very next game. But he's got, I mean, we talked about how massive this guy is, has his pitching resume, how he disguises his pitches is really, I think, what gets us so excited, is how, he's 6'7". He's 6'7", I believe 230. He's built like an offensive tackle. He's massive, and he's out there on the bump absolutely slinging it, and it's really impressive.
Pitcher for me, aside from Charlie Dureff, who love watching him pitch on the mound, is Joshua Isaacs. He's came in a lot of big spots and a lot of not so big spots, but he's been absolutely shut down. We saw it the other night when Lima was up big. As soon as he came in the game, didn't give up a single run, and he threw for 4 innings. He just completely shut down that offense, and they are a high-powered, explosive offense. as we were talking about earlier in the week. And until this loss, they were on a 9-game winning streak, and basically beating opponents by an average of 5 runs. The closest game they had was a 3-run win.
I mean, switching things over as well offensively and also still defensively. I mean, my pick, Brady Bowen, who's one of the top guys in terms of stolen bases. He's batting 244. He's very consistent, and he's kind of that rock that is always able to get himself on base. And I don't think I've seen a lineup this season where he's not been in it. And he has one of the top guys, obviously, in stolen bases, which this team has been up there in terms of the category as well. He also was 8th in the league in walks with 12 and is 8th in the league in stolen bases, but also he has been caught stealing 3 times, which is its own thing. But he's been solid, especially playing in the infield, has made a lot of solid defensive plays. And I mean, I've been very impressed with him so far this season.
My guy will stay on the same side of the infield as Ryder Kirtley. Has played shortstop in majority of the games. We saw him at second base last night. Been an absolute stud, hitting just under 400 at 396. OPS is almost 1,000. I mean, he's got the second most RBIs on the team after Kelling, who had, I believe, 3 last night. It's kind of like the offense goes when he goes. Like if he gets on, he's a problem on the base pass, and he's daring you to throw him out at second.
He's very quick, and I mean he's been the leadoff man for at least a couple of weeks now. There's not a lineup where Ryder Kirtley is not leading it off and trying to, be that first man on base, which he usually is, and is usually able to find his way on either by a base hit or by a walk. But those are our guys that we think should be in the All-Star game coming up in July, and we'll probably have another update right before, and talking about who did make the team and all that stuff. We may even be in Prasco, who knows at this point. But All-Star game July 21st, I believe, at 7 p.m. at Prasco Park in Mason, Ohio. Beautiful ballpark. It's going to be a great time over there. Now, we're going to take a quick look at the rest of the slate coming up. There's 2 games at home tomorrow and Saturday from when this is being recorded, June 25th. And they're both against the Xenia Scouts, who are on a bit of a slide. They've lost their last 5. They're 7-10 now on the year. And the Joes obviously coming off of this win. The game today between the Joes and the Locos got canceled. So extra day kind of to recuperate, go back, get some sleep, maybe work on some things, maybe watch some film if that's readily available to them. But they're going to come into this game against a really hungry Xenia Scouts team who are going to be looking for a win. And the Xenia Scouts are also playing tonight. They are currently up in their game against the Flag City Sluggers 4-2 in the bottom of the 7th from when this is being recorded. Obviously, I'll keep saying that over and over again. But it's going to be a big game for both these teams because obviously the Joes can start streaking or Xenia can end their skid, which looks like it's going to end tonight with the win against Flag City at Grady's Field. But still, you've got a lot of momentum riding on the Joes, trying to get their way back to 500, and Xenia kind of the same thing.
Yeah, exactly what you just said. It's a chance to get back to 500, and following that is the Copperheads, which, if you take another quick look at the standings, are currently 4-14 on the year. So it's an opportunity to get above 500 and stay above 500 for the rest of the year and try and chase down the Grand Lake Mariners.
And the Joes have already seen the Copperheads this season. They've also never played the Scouts this season specifically. This is the first series of 2. This is the primarily home series for the Joes against the Xenia Scouts Friday and Saturday, June 26th and 27th. But going back to the 3-game series against Southern Ohio, the Copperheads, the Joes would take 2 games out of the 3. Take the opening game, which went to 11 innings, they would win 7-6. And then they would win the final game of the series Thursday, the 11th of June, 12-8, but they would lose the middle game 3-2. So a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth of the Copperheads when they come back to Foundation Field, but the Scouts get their first taste of Foundation Field, and they're going to get their first taste of the 2026 Joes coming up on Friday, which is tomorrow, which by the time this podcast comes out will probably be today. So that being said, I think that just about wraps it up, Josh, unless you have any other final thoughts to share.
Not really. I mean, I guess my only thought is, if you're in the position of the Hamilton Joes, you have to win both series. But, you gotta get out there. Every game's different. Every pitch is different. Gotta go out there and execute.
Every win is going to be very, very important, especially down the stretch, as looking at just a remainder of the schedule, just to kind of add on a little bit, there is two more double headers. One against the Clippers on Saturday, July 11th, and then another one against the Lima Locos. That will be on, I believe you said
July
9th.
8th.
July 8th.
And then I believe there's another doubleheader against the Monarchs, which will be the doubleheader that got rained out, which will technically just be a full game because it was rained out in, I believe, the middle of the fourth inning. So you just be playing a total of 9 innings that day.
Absolutely. But the extra aside, that does it for us for this episode of Talking Joe's podcasts. Josh Stanley, Ethan Herzog here, and we will see you guys tomorrow on Flow Sports. First pitch is at 7:05 between the Hamilton Joes and the Xenia Scouts.